I'm actually going to move on to rants and raves because I think we may need a little extra time this week. I'm going to start with you, Dan.
Okay. Well, I have a rant, and the rant, I started off thinking the rant should be for Google, but I really think it should be for the American people. Because this week we learned that there are some very nasty people among us fellow Americans who have been gaming the algorithms at Google so that when you enter certain search terms into Google Maps, such as White House, you get these horrendously racist results coming back. Just really nasty, ugly stuff. Now, I do think that Google deserves a little bit of blame for this because they've been dealing with this for a long time. A few years ago, if you Googled Michelle Obama looking for a picture of her, you would get very racist depictions of her. So they know this is out there, and I think they maybe ought to be a little bit more proactive. To continue with my rant against our fellow Americans, President Obama started his own Twitter feed this week and immediately was beset with hordes of racists. Just nasty stuff, and it kind of just makes you want to crawl under a table.
Me too, except to know that they're all being archived by the FBI. I love it. So take that, you tweeters, you nasty tweeters.
You are actually next up in our Rants and Raves roster. What do you have, Kelly?
Yes, I'm back to talk about those who talked about the word police with regard to the word thug and whether or not it was racially coded. Yes, it is, as I said then, and now as I say now. Why? Here we have a clear example in black and white. So the white biker gangs murder people in front of a mall where normal people are walking, but they are not thugs. They are never described as thugs.
You're talking about the crazy shootout in Waco, Texas?
That's exactly right. Never are they described as thugs. In fact, what happened there when they were shooting and, let me say, killing people was described as a rumble by some because they were rival gangs. So don't talk to me about how the word is used. The word is appropriate to use when you're talking about somebody who's done bad stuff. But understand that journalists, and I'm my fellow journalists, obviously, as a body, have not recognized that it is a word that is racially coded.
Did anyone reporting on this event or commenting on it use, and not commenting on the absence of the use of the word thugs, did anyone call these guys thugs? Even one or two people?
That's what I'm saying, no.
Yeah, no one, literally no one. Okay. As far as you know.
My time looking up to try to see, and it's been noted by some. The Washington Post wrote a piece. There are several other opinion pieces saying, hey, where are the thugs? We're not calling them thugs.
So what did they call them? You said they called it a rumble. Did they call these guys hellions?
Gangs, members of competing groups.
Gangbangers?
Really?
Did gangbangers ever
I hadn't seen that.
I don't think so.
No. Really? What would that be like if those had been black kids? Come on.
No, you're right. You have educated me, Kelly, and you had a good discussion of this on Basic Black recently. I didn't know. Now I know.
Yeah.
Well, thug's a horrid word in any usage at all. I mean, it's not a word that I could see creeping into journalism, but
you wouldn't think it'd be appropriate. I mean, for example, in a case like this, I mean, I think if you look up thug in the dictionary or thuggish, this was certainly thuggish behavior. It doesn't seem
I'm not arguing for it never to be used appropriately. I'm just saying it's coded now.
I'm surprised that no one said it, but I agree with you completely that when this happened, it was quite clear immediately that this was seen as an isolated incident. It certainly did not paint all white people or all Texans with the same cloth, and there's a difference. There's clearly a difference.
All right. Who's next? We got Joanna.
Okay, I have a rave for Tribune Company, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, which recently bought the newspaper formerly known as UT San Diego, and in one of its first acts, restored the original name, the San Diego Union Tribune. I mean, set aside the fact that UT San Diego sounds like a communicable disease. The point is you can't run away from the fact that you have a newspaper.
I was still thinking about the communicable disease joke. It took me like a minute to get it.
Sorry, you can't brand. The point is you can't brand yourself out of the problem. A newspaper's a newspaper. You do journalism, and that's how people recognize that you're good.
Roy, you were nodding, I think, enthusiastically as Joanna raved about that change.
Well, I'm delighted to hear something good coming out of the Tribune Company because I think they've done a pretty good job of managing the Los Angeles Times in the last few years. A couple of their papers in Florida are top-notch papers, and after what they went through with Sam Zell's ownership, it's wonderful to hear that they're doing some things that are positive for the industry out there.
All right, Roy, you are next with, I'm guessing, the rant or rave that everyone watching has been waiting for. What do you have to say?
Well, yes, indeed. I'm going to poke the hornet's nest here. I actually started with the idea of a qualified rave for the Boston Globe for the way that they covered the Olympics. Today,
the change
especially,
in Olympic Boston 2024 leadership.
change of
right?
the management. Steve Pagliuca taking over there, who seemed to be somebody who really has his head on straight about where to take the Olympics. They did a couple of really nice stories today on the front page about the new planning structure. And
But
John
that
Fish
wasn't all
going
you
out.
liked about today's
No,
front page, was it?
that wasn't. I also really loved the column that Shirley Leung wrote, which I thought was quite clever, which was addressed to the U.S. Olympic Committee and telling people at the U.S. Olympic Committee, don't worry about Bostonians. We're a surly group sometimes. We're ornery, but we come around, we calm down, and we handle things. Look at the Boston Tea Party. And so after congratulating the Boston Globe for this, I think this will set the standard for their covering the Olympics as we move ahead. What we really need to find out, which they're setting the stage for, is what's going to be done in this town, what's being proposed to make the Olympics work, if they're going to work. However,
Now, can you do a dramatic reading here? Because our Beat the Press colleague, John Keller, was not as big of a fan of Shirley Leung's column as you were. Can maybe the last, maybe just the end? What do we have
okay.
here? All right. I'm just going to cut to the
Go
chase.
ahead,
We get
please
these guys
do.
in. But Leung's column does serve a purpose. We will be needing something to get the coals lit at our cookouts this weekend. John thought she was totally full of it. I learned about John's piece when you tweeted it out this morning. Can you take a side here? Are you with Roy or are you with John?
Well, I mean, I'm more with John than with Roy. I don't think I would be as harsh on Shirley Leung as John was. But no, I mean, the essential point of Shirley's piece, who I get a kick out of, I really like her, but she essentially was saying that, well, just because we say we're against it doesn't mean we're really against it. And so I tweeted out last night, when the reason that we say we're against the Olympics is because we're against the Olympics.
All right,
Well,
you guys want to get in here?
it's a sports story, remember, and we were talking about
So
how
it's all opinion.
opinionated things were. But the truth is there's a lot of reporting that has to be done, and the Globe is now set to do the reporting on what the planning is.
Guys, I'm going to cut it off there because I want to rave. I apologize for not getting you two in here. I want to rave about this oral history of Kevin Garnett's years in the NBA that was put together by Howard Beck, who used to be a sports writer for the New York Times, among other places. He has since gone to the website Bleacher Report. A lot of people don't take Bleacher Report seriously, but if you are a Kevin Garnett fan, as I am, I followed him in Minnesota, followed him here in Boston, it is an absolutely terrific piece of sports writing, packed with bizarre and freakish detail. He talks about Garnett, who's renowned for his intensity, watching the P. Diddy, I can't remember what the up-to-date P. Diddy name is, Making the Band,
I know that.
and getting so worked up as he watches this that he headbutts the wall in his house and leaves a hole in it because he was so passionate about what was going on in Making the Band. So I would urge all of you, even you, Kelly, to read this piece by Howard Beck. You should do it.
If only the Celtics had gotten him 5 years
Yes,
earlier.
it's true. That's going to do it for our show. Tell us what you think. We're always on at beatthepress.org. You can also tweet us at beatthepress.